Travis Wayne Goodsell came across the Association song about Dartmouth and went, oh yeah, Joseph Smith history, the real Joseph Smith history. And so I was inspired to do this video for you that nobody will watch after you just saw the hot redhead that I told you I'm going to do all day today to torment you. Because you're not listening to me, you might as well listen to her. And so I've warned you about psychology. They are not science-based, and they use fallacious arguments. And so they are liars. They spread falsehood. And you cannot trust them. So there happens to be one who got excommunicated from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. No, not Natasha Helfer, for saying that porn is not going to kill you. I wonder if that's why my thumbs downers have not yet, as at least I've seen so far, put a thumbs down on the 2 porn videos I did today. They were afraid to click on the video to put a thumbs down. Afraid that they wouldn't be able to escape quick enough. If that's all it takes to scare these guys away. Oh, hilarious. Because it is strange. Normally they would have put a thumbs down. You know, I know when they go to bed, when they finish work, when they're having dinner, when they're at church. But, no, they should have. It's Tuesday, in the daytime. Should have immediately rushed. Oh, Travis, I got an alert from Travis. My secret subscribers. So, yeah, the dumbass psycho on his website, as I was trying to find the reporting about the claim that Joseph Smith dug up dead bodies, in particular Alvin's body. And so I did find it, and then there's a whole bunch of other crap that they think is supporting evidence to prove that the Book of Mormon is fake. But there's too many problems with it. They pick and choose what they hear and do not do full research into the subject matter to learn about the whole context in American history during that time. And as a result, their conclusion is fallacious and thus wrong. It's all fun and games until you prove you're a dumbass. And one of the problems is that he's trusting common folk during that time period from their journal accounts. They get passed on through oral history. And they didn't have schooling like we have today. Many people didn't get an education. And if they did, it was all combined together. There was no grading levels that we have today in our public school system. And so you've probably heard the nonsense, fallacious argument that Joseph Smith only had a 3rd grade education. No, you can't compare the two educational systems. That's stupid. But nonetheless, the people back then were stupid. They knew how to survive, but when it came to intelligence, they didn't have it. And you see this with archaeology. Among the first archaeological digs, it was a bulldozer philosophy. You just go in, dig everything up, look for valuables, and then just leave the rest to be destroyed. They didn't do any charting and inventory listing that eventually became qualified for archaeology. And this is the problem with treasure digging. But the treasure digging, as this first topic here, has to do with the grander picture of the rumors that got spread around. And it began with the conquistadores destroying the Aztec nation. They went in, conquered, converted them to Christianity, and destroyed their Egyptian gold plates. It was a very tragic loss, as funny as I made it. And so the concept that America had gold and treasures and gold plates were perpetuated with the Knights Templar. With Friday the 13th. There's evidence of their existence in America as early as 1363. Kensington Stone, despite people claiming it's a fraud. Because people are dumb. They don't know how to do research. And so they just deny and think that they're cool. And then you get dumbasses hundreds of years later who say, well, the majority of people say that it's a fraud, therefore it's a fraud and you're wrong. Oh my God. Truth is not by democratic vote. It's an ad populum fallacy, you dumbass. I had to comment the other day. I kid you not. Oh my God. It was about Albert Pike and his letter to Giuseppe Mazzini. He's claiming that those majority claimed anachronisms. Dumbass. They weren't anachronisms. They were the original concepts. They weren't the politically designed concepts. So, anyway, the concept of treasure digging needs to be seen in the bigger context of those stories that were being told in America. People were coming to America to make their fortune, to set up a new life. Not necessarily religious freedom. Only the Knights Templar for religious freedom. Fleeing for their lives. That is an interesting point in the Book of Mormon. In case you didn't know, they're talking about the Knights Templar. And why? Because Joseph Smith Sr. was a York Rites Master Mason in Canandaigua, New York, after moving to Palmyra. Without that factual information, you can see how dumbass Psycho goes on a faraway tangent. And the Captain William Kidd, treasure digging! No! The author of those books, or magazine things, or whatever they were, used the treasure lore of the pirates and other stuff to write his things. It's just more a part of that. So, good God, Captain Kidd. Science has told us Joseph Smith had nothing to do with the composition of the Book of Mormon. Period. So it doesn't matter if you catch Joseph Smith telling somebody, yeah, I used Captain Kidd books to write the Book of Mormon. He's lying. He didn't do it. That's what you need to understand. And of course, there is no smoking gun evidence that Joseph Smith confesses. So Sidney Rigdon's the major author of the Book of Mormon, period. He never discusses that in here at all. And Joseph Smith Sr. is the author of the rewritten 116 pages. You must factor those in or you will be wrong. conclusion is incomplete. You're coming up with dumbass stuff because you only have a couple of pieces to the puzzle. That only works for the Wheel of Fortune to be able to figure out what it says on the board. Vanna, which, yeah, that would be cool to have that show, to do Vanna's fashion as well. And so the treasure digging has to do with Jewish Kabbalah, which, again, he doesn't bring up at all here. Jewish Kabbalah uses Hebrew and involves astronomy. Astronomy. Not astrology, astronomy. As well as believing they're the descendants of the house of Israel and descended from King David, and that they're going to restore the kingdom of David here in America. There's a lot of Jews that moved to America with that traditional belief, that America was going to be the building of New Jerusalem. And the Smiths were a part of that. And so those two things of Joseph Smith Sr., again, must be factored in. If you do not include them, you're wrong. Jewish Kabbalah and York Rites Freemasonry with the Knights Templar. The treasure digging was when Justice Winchell joined the New Israelites of Jewish Kabbalah. He had taught the people, and you have to understand, being a member is different. You have to be an adult, you have to have a personal conversion to become a member, and then the members already are the ones who vote whether or not you can join and be a member. Otherwise, you can attend the meetings as often as occasion would permit. But there is no suggestion or inference that Joseph Smith Sr. became a member. But he was definitely influenced. And he knew it very well because of the 116 pages and other things that indicate Joseph Smith's knowledge on the subject matters. Because the privileges of membership involve polygamy, and Senior did not like polygamy. The majority of the Book of Mormon's anti-polygamy came from him. Because there's 5 times in the Book of Mormon anti-polygamy. Nonetheless, Justice Winchell had taught them how to forge metal to make things for which you can then sell them. And so instead of Prada, you're selling Prado. Instead of Gucci, it's Gucci. Those kinds of forgeries. Not forgery, but forging forgeries. Forging metals. There's a big difference. And dumbasses who don't know historical context aren't gonna get it. And so this is where the treasure digging also comes in, is because he also taught them how to do divining. And if you've ever taken metal coat hangers and fashioned them into an L with a short strand and a long strand, and you stick the two of them in your hand, you don't hold them tight, you just let them hang there loosely. and then you go walk into your bathroom, go right over the toilet, they'll cross. You found gold! Or a wormhole in my case. I never did do a video of the wormhole in my toilet. The Stargate wormhole. I thought, well, maybe after usage for a while it won't, and no, it's still, I have to be careful flushing, otherwise I'm going to get sprayed. It's like a boudoir. A boudoir? Is that what it is? Or bidet. It's a bidet. So I guess I don't have a toilet, I just have a bidet. They gave us bidets in this apartment. And so there really isn't much in the way of actually treasure digging. Joseph Smith learned a variation of the dowsing with his rocks in a hat. And of course he gets the seer stones by digging a well for Martin Harris before all of this began. That's how they knew of Martin Harris and knew that he had money that could pay for the Book of Mormon when it came time to finish the Book of Mormon and needing somebody to pay for it. Because the Batavian Press was no longer an option. Oh, you don't know about the Batavian Press? Yeah, neither does this dumbass. There are facts of history that are missing here, that I'm able to point out how dumb this is. So, there's the angry dog. Where is that video game? I want to play that video game. Angry Dogs. See, you advance in level to the meanest dog, and you have to try to tame the dog. It's to help teach kids how to have a dog as a pet. Teach them tricks. Obviously, the masters have not learned how to keep the dog silent. Dog's just going crazy this whole time. How many months now? 7 months? March, April, May, June, July, August. Yeah, we're working on 7 months in September, or August 24th. I think, well, no. It'd be August. So, yeah, 6 months. Only one more month, 27 days, until we all burn. Because you don't want to listen to me unless I show hot redheads telling you what to believe. And so then he uses Benjamin Franklin. Well, that's a non sequitur argument. But if he knew and understood Benjamin Franklin in his life, he would know that we have found in his home a secret place where he was performing autopsies on dead bodies. How did he get those dead bodies? He had to dig them up. This is what is also not understood here, and why Dartmouth falls into line with what's going on with the Smiths. Because you hear the story about Joseph Smith as the young boy. He's got leg problems, and normally, because of the lack of intelligence of medical health back then, it was customary to just chop off the leg to keep the infection from growing, or the disease, or whatever it was. And instead, his mother has connections to a family member at Dartmouth, one of the medical doctors teaching at Dartmouth, and is able to get his assistants to try out some new technology that there is experimental to try to help with Joseph's leg. And ta-da, it works. But instead, the church focuses on Joseph Smith refused alcohol and word of wisdom cured him. No. But regardless, Hiram Smith went to Dartmouth. Only one, because it's expensive. And so, yeah, I saw MSNBC last night complaining about how the rich, privileged kids get to go to the good schools. With the controversies this year about forcing out the smart, rich kids and putting in kids that passed high school to ruin the reputation of these high notoriety schools. And they don't want dumb kids coming to their school and ruining their reputation by getting a passing grade and then going into the job market making them look like fools. Right, Mr. Psycho, on this website here? Oh, it was BYU? Case in point. Case in point. And so, in order to pay for it, because again, Joseph Smith Sr. was struggling to get a steady job. It's tough back then. You can't just go and work at Burger King. Didn't exist. You had to, the majority of people were agricultural people. And only those living in the cities, if you've seen Far and Away with Mr. Scientology and Nicole Kidman, Mr. Mission Impossible Scientologist, with crabs from outer space. The abuse he did to his sweet little honey bunny, dear God. And he's just getting away with it, even though she finally escaped and is free from that whole torture. She is a treasured gift. In the movie, The Gift. It's rated R, you can't watch. Because her urim and thummums are showing. That was clever. That was very clever. Too bad nobody's listening anymore to hear that clever comment. So, to pay for it, yeah, they dug up bodies to give as cadavers to Dartmouth. And so are you going to blame Joseph Smith Sr. for this? Or are you going to blame Dartmouth and Benjamin Franklin? Because they did it. That's how we have our anatomy books, which are getting banned in our school systems now as porn. We can't teach about muscle structure and bone structure. No more memorizing of all the bones of the body. So there's the seer stone. I already talked about that. Seer for hire. Yeah. Josiah stole. Joseph confesses to this. It's not a surprise. He needed somebody to help him dig in a silver mine, which, having done the research, is not by Susquehanna River. Pennsylvania, Harmony, which was no longer called Harmony. It was over by Harmony, north of Pittsburgh. Over where little Emma lived. So yeah, This is just disgusting, and that's why I don't like going to Mormon apologists or to other ex-Mormon channels when they're talking about church history. If they're talking about their experience while they were at church, great, I'll listen to you. But when they start talking about stuff that they don't even bother to research themselves and have no clue how to do it, I mean, this is a long web page. And then here's the Glasslooker trial. Good for you. You presented evidence, finally. $2.68. And they never, ever ask, why was the Book of Mormon made? What is the Book of Mormon? Because they're claiming it must be to make money. You don't make money off of books, even back then. It's for the rich who can afford to pay books in the first place. The majority of the people were poor, and thus were not educated, and thus, what good is a book to them? But it helped with the press, because people were now able to get into a school to at least learn how to read, and then they can read the newspaper, the newsies, and begin to increase the education of Americans. But it takes time. And that's why the public school system was established. And now we have evangelical Mormons who want to destroy the public school system and ban everything, even the Bible. And so here they're non sequitur. He's associating his Glasslooker thing with treasure digging. It wasn't treasure digging, it was a job. But they didn't find any silver. They were legitimate places for silver. There are still silver mines to this day down there. But yeah, it's Joseph Smith purposely. He goes prior to claiming that he's not supposed to touch the Urim and Thummim, and yet he's arrested as a Glasslooker. Okay, slippery and cursed treasure. Yeah, this, oh my God, they're so dumb. And I've basically gone over it. But I see the errors that apologists and the people back then, and thus into ex-Mormonism, are making. It's gold because of the Knights Templar. Gold, not golden. Because it's not literal history. But the whole concept of the slippery treasure is in the Book of Mormon, yeah. And they condemn magic and witchcraft with slippery treasure. Condemn. And yet this dumbass says, oh, they are practicing what they aren't preaching in the Book of Mormon. They preach against polygamy, but Joseph Smith was said to be a polygamist by the Danites in their journals when they came to the valley in the 50s after Brigham Young ordered it to be publicly known and practiced. You just don't think. You don't put your timeline together. And that's what I've been teaching for years here. When you're doing church history research, you get paper or a word program or however you do it for people, places, events, dates, so that when you are putting it in and you see a pattern match, we have this event, we have this person, and we have that person at that same event, then you check around for the other papers to see if there's more connections. And this is what you get when you don't do my process. But I've shown you my Urim and Thummim. I have them. I have the gift. Mormons don't. Ex-Mormons don't. I do. And I'm obtaining the plates. We want to get to the one where Smith Senior. This is where it comes from. And then we'll end. We should probably get this. Oops. So they do have the newspaper printing from Joseph Smith Sr. September 29th, 1824, about dispelling the rumors that Joseph Smith was involved in digging up his body so that they may... Okay. I'll put it in the video for you. But this is the Dartmouth thing. It took me all this time to finally get to it. At the end of the video where you're not listening. See, listen to the way this dumbass psycho words this. Within days of Smith's second unsuccessful visit to the Hill in 1824. He thinks it's all literal history. What a dumbass. Someone discussed exhuming Alvin Smith's body. Reference. Hello? No? Perhaps a family member. Yes, let's speculate conclusions based on fallacy arguments. Dumbass. Had mentioned the angel's requirement that Alvin accompany Joseph and the predicament his recent death precipitated. Alvin's death was where the Presbyterian comes from. His mother knew of the Presbyterian. They're not Presbyterians. She didn't become Presbyterian. It's in her book. He don't mention it. He mentions other part of her book, but not that one. She says, I refer to my son's account on this matter. They were Congregationalists. Jewish Kabbalah, specifically. But yeah, they needed somebody to officiate over the burial site of their son. And so the Presbyterian was who they got. And then he told them that their son's going to burn in hell because he wasn't baptized. And so, yes, Lucy then decides to join that church. Oh, my son's going to hell. I want to join your church. People just don't think. Some may have speculated that the Smiths would use Alvin's body to satisfy. Yes, let's use speculation as our primary source documents. The treasure guardian. They're using treasure guardian because witchcraft uses treasure guardians. It's just stupid. The reason why witchcraft is thrown in here as speculation that Joseph was a witch rather than a Jewish mystic is that witchcraft uses Hebrew. And they've got their own language too, but a lot of it is Hebrew that they use. Abracadabra, for example. By speaking, I create. But do not mix them. You become a racist bigot when you do that. And here you have D. Michael Quinn being referenced earlier for the Treasure Guardian Witch. I'm surprised they didn't use Gerald and Sandra Tanner. They also did that book. Joseph Smith Sr. printed a public notice in the Wayne Sentinel to address the rumors that Alvin's body is still buried and intact. But again, Dartmouth required payment to educate their son. And that's how they did it. Digging up bodies to give to Dartmouth. This whole concept about rumors that people were making. Do you believe everyone who says that you're a witch? You must be a witch. I just watched the episode of NCIS prior to, in which the little boy was forced by the director as he comes in and threatens him with a wielding axe. Confess! Alright, fine, I confess I did it. And it was his mother who came back from the dead. And so, whereas reports have been distrustingly put in circulation that my son, Alvin, had been removed from the place of his internment and dissected, which reports every person possessed of human sensibility must know are particularly exculpated to harrow up the mind of a parent and deeply wound the feelings of relations. Dear God. To accuse a parent of digging up their son's body for the purpose of witchcraft. This is not too long after the Salem witch trials, the 1700s or 1600s, 1500s. I don't think it was the 1500s, it was more like the 16s or 1700s. Well, it was actually the 1700s because Smith Sr. No, his dad. I think his dad was in as a witness in one of the Salem witch trials of two women, one of which was the wife of his brother-in-law or uncle, something like that. They were like his aunts-in-law. And he was there to testify that they are witches and they need to be hung. Because you don't burn witches in America. Hung them. Because you can't say hanged. We really need to change that in Webster's. But, he's anti-witchcraft. Anti-witchcraft, anti-polygamy. People just, when they're stupid, they lie. And they get superstitious. And they make things up. And that's what you're witnessing here. Is all of the stupidity of the early 1800s. That are making all sorts of false accusations against the Smiths. And the Smiths actually were quite intelligent. Comparatively. As the Book of Mormon testifies to. So, we're done, I do believe. Because I answered all of the questions and tied it in with Dartmouth. And so this whole concept of Joseph going to the side, no, none of that happened. No. He did not go to the Hill Cumorah. He didn't try to dig up gold plates. No, none of that happened. Once you factor in Jewish mysticism and the Knights Templar, okay, now I understand. on September 11th, 2023, the United States is going to have an event of the Day of a Burning. Got it. Makes sense now. It's all clear. But yeah, it's just ex-Mormons perpetuating the lies of their interpretation of atrocity, whereas the Mormons say, no, faith promotion. It's all true, and he's a prophet still. No. This is purposely deceiving you from the truth that they're trying to tell you and warn you about. Because both sides of you are clueless that you're about to die this year by the church. They that come shall burn you. They've paid for it with your tithing money.